questions for our distinguished guests, Margareta, Juliane, and Mark. So, Margareta as a developer of projects, Juliane as a program manager of Deep Space, and Mark as a program manager, project manager from WAG. You can also ask questions. Yeah, please, Mark.
Well, maybe my question would be, I mean, we've presented two, well, maybe two different, I don't know so much different, but two mentalities, I think. And that's our offer to you, that we present this. But what's in it for you? For example, the students. What are you studying and what's your interest in the stuff we are presenting? And apart from the students, maybe also the professionals. Yeah. Who are we presenting to anyway? That would be my question.
Yeah, when I was talking with a few of participants who are sitting here, like a few days ago, one of them, Jure, he showed me a really great application made by Björk. You all know Björk, a singer, artist, who created a mobile app album for iPod. Jure, you showed me this, which is really great show and application. And it really brought me to thoughts and inspired me what we can do in terms of art and culture and the heritage. I mean, heritage as something which we have to respect, and art is something which we have to follow and create. And maybe if somebody wants to say something about this, Juliane, because you are a representative of Museum of the Future, and today we have museums on one hand, they don't know how they will repair their roof, and they think that the information communication technologies ends with web page, and you are developing and you are handling with the Museum of the Future. What would be your message to our audience?
I mean, our museum is kind of, it feels like a huge family in real, because there's so many opinions coming together, so many different jobs, like not only artists. We have a professor from biology, and you have from history sides a lot of people. And I mean, I'm from the artist side. I'm a sculptor actually. And then you learn from each other. That's the important thing. You get the connection. You think, maybe you have an idea and you think you cannot bring it to something because you have no money, you have no space to present it. And the only thing is to present your work and really believe in it. And when you go to the right people in this way, that's always happened in our house, then one day someone will say, come on, it's now your turn, show it to us. And we give you the material. We can not pay you for the hours, but even you can be like an artist in residence, try and present your things. And that's kind of that you can start. And hopefully also the concept, find the concept to bring it to the customers.
Thanks. Yeah. A lot of those applications and technology costs a lot of money.
That's true.
But on the other hand, we have free access applications. Maybe Margareta, because you are a consultant to the European Commission also, and some of those guys who are sitting at the audience, they will, or they are already working for institutions applying for budgets, because if we want to implement that kind of technology, we need money. Maybe Margareta, from your point of view, what is offered by Horizon 2020, which is next financial focus of European Union from the ICT point of view related to Creative Europe? What do you think? What would be your message to the young audience?
Okay, I think,
Yeah, it works.
I think the first thing is you need to know what you want to do, or the museum needs to know what it wants to do, or the technology provider needs what they want to do. So you need to know exactly your strategy, what you want to become, develop, or do, and then you need to find out if there is somewhere some money. Now, Dejan, you mentioned Horizon 2020. If you are not familiar with that, if you are working at the moment only at national level, it's very difficult to get into a consortium, to get into something that has to do with research and innovation. On the other hand, events like this year allow you to make contacts with international people, and you should really use it. You should use the opportunity, for example, as I mentioned in my introduction, to register, to become known, and tell us what you want to do, what you can do. I mean, when I sat down here, I looked not at you, I looked at that there. And I like this much more, it's much more interesting because it says, if not us, who? If not now, when? And I think that's the message to you that I give to you. If not now, and if not you, who should do it? Who should be the intermediary? Now, on the more practical side, for example, museums that always claim they have no money, first of all, many of them do, but they don't want to spend it on technology. That's another issue. But you can always look into money next to you. So there are local programs, national programs. Every state says there is no money, but every state has a lot of money. And the European Union has additional money, and these are, for example, European structural funds. And I know that they are now negotiated for the period 2014-2020, and you can look at your regional people that are called managing authorities and see if they have money for cultural development, for digitization. That's all possible. In particular, also in Slovenia it should be possible, in Croatia, neighboring countries. So you can really find out what is there and how to apply for it. It's not rocket science, it's just to get the information, and this takes some time. And then to write a proposal, this is not that easy, but the potential that you get some money is worth the time to invest in that. And I think there are people like us here who can help you in that. I think, as you heard, Mark saying everybody is familiar with EU projects, so he surely is, I surely am, my colleagues here are. So if you want to know something more concrete, how to start doing it, just ask us. I mean, we are here to help you the next days. So it's a starting point. Please do it. Thanks.
Exactly. Thank you, Margareta. So that's why we have online platforms, communication platforms at eCult Observatory, on a web page, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, emails, and all the connections and contacts are available for you. Are there any questions maybe from the audience? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think.
And then Eleni, yeah. Jure, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Jure, and I work at the Maribor Art Gallery. And we have a web page. No, we were discussing with Dan that this quote of Arthur C. Clarke, where he says that in the future technology will be indistinguishable from magic. And this is the problem that I'm having, that I kind of see this technology and I can use it easily because it's becoming so easy to access, but you don't have the kind of knowledge how it works, operates from like the, you know, kind of mechanics, like opening the hood of the car. Because in my generation, I kind of went past those computers that you saw those matrix-like, you know, kind of code, like green things, and you had to, I don't know, do whatever. I don't understand, but I can use these things. But I think in the older generations that kind of didn't get into this at a young age, kind of don't see it as this technology as indistinguishable from magic, but more see it as a witchcraft, you know, something that is kind of ununderstandable or kind of takes away. And I think this is the problem that we're having, and I think with such projects as Horizon 2020, I think it's all about kind of bringing this knowledge to people, but I wonder what kind of forums or what kind of, because I would like to see. I will tell you. On Monday, we were in Ljubljana with our, and there's also another participant here, and it was kind of a cultural heritage conference or workshops, and we were discussing about web pages and Facebook pages and you know, very basic stuff in museums, and people were very wary of that even. And now these people that could easily be here today aren't here today, and I wonder why, and I wonder, I don't know, that's very important.
I wonder also. Thank you, Jure. To whom are you referring the question? To Mark?
I don't think it was a question, actually.
Yeah, I can also answer.
But no,
Margarita,
actually,
and then maybe later, because Mark also wanted to say
can I just,
something, and then we have Eleni.
I will just finish. I was very encouraged to hear you say that your background is in sculpture, because mine is in history of art and nothing to do with technology, but it's so awe-inspiring to see that you can get into that, but you just have to kind of make your way into it and then wade through it and get people to talk to you.
Thank you, Jure.
Thank you.
So Jure is working at the City Art Gallery as your PR guy. Yeah. So maybe first Margareta would like to say something, and then Mark, Juliana and Mark, and then we will go to another question. Please, Margareta.
I think the most important thing is, as eCult ambassador or somebody who knows about it, to promote it as far as possible, because you have to change the mindset. The people, not so much the audience, they get into it, but the people that are in charge of the cultural collections, the curators, have often a very old-fashioned historic mind, and they simply don't understand the possibilities and opportunities new technologies give. They don't want to know it. So you have to change the mindset, and the more events like this there are, the more people know about it and want to change it, the better it is. So you have to take every occasion to do so. And I can tell you, I'm running the European Multimedia Forum, the Forum of E-Excellence. My background is a lawyer, and I'm not your age group. And nevertheless, one can learn it. One can learn to tweet and to use everything. So it's the mindset and the change, and the more people hear about it, the better.
Thank you, Margareta. Now I will pass the word to Juliane. Please make it short. Ladies first, and then Mark. Then we have some more questions from the audience.
Okay,
please,
the question with the seniors is real interesting, because we had the same problem, how you bring seniors into the museum, and we started to do guided tours for them, and also bring workshops in it that they can kind of learn with the new technology and lose the fear. And it's really important, because even when they come into the space, they're kind of, come on, that's large, we cannot go in there. And when you stand by the entrance and you take the fear away, then they come in, do everything. So that's the point. And also write messages into newspaper, the daily newspaper, even if it's just a city newspaper. That's really important.
So that was the message already before. You have very expensive technology on the one hand, on the other you can use already available technologies for free for communicating it. Am I right? That's what we are going to see in the afternoon.
For free, it's quite hard to say, because sometimes we also reach a border, and we have also the problem that we got money to build the museum, and we have this institution with the company, with the Linz, city of Linz. But in each country, I think it's the same problem. The cultural stuff, they cannot get that money
That's
anymore.
why when you ask we are the museum guys. Yeah, I'm really honored. We are all honored that really young generation is sitting here, and you should make the applause to yourself. And Mark, you wanted to say something?
Well, actually, I just wanted to verify.
Make it short.
I will. Just wanted to verify your question. I mean, because I'm a bit plagued by the echo behind these boxes. Yeah, but I can't hear. So, you're describing the fear of new technology. Is that the
I can use new technologies, but it's difficult to see how you could be one participant creating this with no knowledge of, because we had little to no training.
Do it yourself.
In programming, for example.
Am I right?
Well, I think, as again with, I don't know, Fab Labs and other stuff we do at Waag Society, we simply open up technology. I mean, we have this belief, if you can't open it, you don't own it. So you don't own your iPhone, for example. So that's one answer to the question. The other thing is, I think, it will change in time. I mean, the next generation will be born, is already born digital. I mean, I have 4 children, they're all, I mean, I'm a visitor in the digital realm, because actually I grew up when the green screen, blah, blah, blah. My kids, I mean, it's like water from the tap, or flushing the toilet. That's what the internet is for them, and also what new technology is for them. And I think when the Sony camera, the VHS camera came into the market, the peoples of like Bill Viola and Nam June Paik, they simply started working with it. And that's what's happening now with our current technology and future technology. So, yeah.
Wow. I will now coordinate a little bit. We have Eleni, Marco, Philip. No, Eleni, Marco, Philip. Who else? Who is next? Wow, wow, wow. We have a lot. Eleni, the lady over there. And then Marco, and then Philip. And who is next? Yeah, okay. I hope I will remember. Make it short. We have like 10 minutes. Please.
Okay, first of all, many thanks for a very, very interesting presentation. And it was very interesting for us to see that you really brought 2 different worlds together. The one that starts with the physical objects, like the very traditional ones, and enhance them through the use of the new technologies. And the other one that doesn't even need any objects. So these are 2 very different views of museums, and we can call them both a museum. And this is in the very core of the things that are interesting for our project and our activities. I have a very concrete question for Mark. Could you please explain a little bit the technology behind these magnifiers, behind these loops? I understand that this could be even an iPad, but you chose to have this in a different format. Could you explain the rationale and also a little bit the technology on what it is based? Do you have also created a database, or and also is this linked to a concrete museum or to a concrete museum and collection, or can this be applied also? Can somebody take your loop and use this in another context, in another museum? This is my question. And the second to both, and I will close with this, based on your experiences, what should be done in a museum with traditional settings, and also in a museum that started as a digital one from the very scratch? What should be done in order to really enhance and further support this interaction between culture, heritage, and ICT, new technologies?
Thank you, Eleni. Mark?
That's quite a lot of questions.
Make it short. So first, do you make just for certain customers, or can it be applied? And the second one,
the purpose, I
that
will
you
answer.
understand.
The,
Yeah, thanks,
the purpose is that it's applied by more people than ourselves. That's what I indicated as our, well, you might say, open source approach. So actually what we want to do, I mean, you know, with the website you have the CC plus CC blah blah. That's what we want. So please take the technology and improve it, but also give it back then to the community. That's a very FabLab way of thinking. So that's one. So a learning community, sustainability. That's what we're after. So that's one question. The other is the technology behind it. Well, I'm not a technician myself. I would say now that it's augmented reality, but I can connect you to people who actually developed the stuff and who could tell you more precisely what it's made out of. And thirdly, is it connected to a database, I think was the question. And the answer is yes, it is, because that's the whole point. And then the last question was enhancing the relationship between cultural heritage and ICT. Well, I think what we're doing with Mesh is one example of that. And actually, and that's also the reason why I asked my first question to you guys, is there critique possible? For example, two examples. One is, for example, mathematical education. I mean, there's a lot of initiatives to enhance that, make more ICT, blah, blah, blah. But maybe sometimes, as with studying history of art, you simply need to learn the numbers and do the work from a book. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So I think the stuff we're doing with the interactivity is not the final step. And the other example is, for example, with 3D printing. Everybody wants 3D printing, up to the point that now sometimes I hear in the FabLab that, well, I could do this very complicated 3D printing, but maybe I could also take a piece of wood and chisel it into the right form.
That's what we are going to do in the afternoon.
It's cheaper. It's just because it's possible doesn't mean it's necessary to be like digital 3D blah blah. So again, yeah, where's the critique?
Thank you. So there is a waiting list, and then we will finish before break. I know that we are hungry already. Marco, please.
Hi, my name is Marco. I have I will skip the thanks to organizer for putting up this theme because time is of the essence. I just have two short questions. What are the key arguments to persuade the older generations to accept and include e-technologies into museums, heritage, and cultural institutions? I mean, on person-to-person basis, and if possible, what EU can do to increase the pressure from top down. And the second question is for Mark directly. What are the key arguments for use of open source, open access, open architecture systems as a contrast to the proprietary or privately owned? Because it's kind of, we're going to all need these arguments in order to introduce technologies into this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. So the first question was, to whom? Yeah, to whom?
I think Ms. Masura could have the best insight for these key arguments.
To whom are you?
To Ms. Masura.
For Margarita will answer the first question and Mark the second one. Thank you.
I think the argument why museums should use technology is because of their vocation. They are institutions that preserve cultural heritage, but they have also the task to make it accessible. And technology makes it accessible without damaging objects. You can talk about this for digitization, but you can also use technologies to attract a new public. Now, basically, most of museums are paid by our money, taxpayers' money, because they're public institutions. So they have really, they need to open up and to attract more people than they attract right now. They are simply old-fashioned and want to keep the treasures for themselves. This is what I heard by curators talking themselves. They are afraid of technology because they are afraid that they take away their values. And this is not the case. And one has to make this clear to them. And I think what does the EU to do this? As I said, there is money there, in particular at local level, how museums could implement some technologies. But I can also give you nice stories where simple things like Facebook or so help make treasures public. And I gave this already in another session. In Portugal, there is absolutely no money for museums, and the mindset is the most old-fashioned you can imagine. And the only museum that has 20,000 visitors on Facebook is the museum that is archiving and taking care of the treasures of the church, because there is one bishop there who is modern in his thinking, and he allows the curator, which are two young persons, to do and put all the images on the Facebook. Most of the other museums are not even allowed to put one image on Facebook because they are afraid of copyright. So that's one of the things. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. And Mark, did you remember the second question for you from Marco?
I believe it was why we use the open source, well, it's not a use, I mean, it's a mentality. Why we believe in the open source mentality? Well, the arguments are that
what are the advantages of using open software? What arguments do you use? I just want to copy paste from you, you know. The arguments.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think this is related, yeah, to CC, like Creative Commons, and am I right?
No.
No?
VAG uses open source software for everything it does in order to enable access to the content. What we use in museums, or you use in museums in Slovenia, it's a proprietary software that it's paid by public money to a private company. So what are the arguments that everybody should use the open source software for enabling access? So what's the advantages of it? How would you argue for that?
Thanks. Well, I don't know if my argument would be that the whole world uses open source software. I don't think so, actually. I quite like my iPhone. So that's one thing. The other thing is, do we want to convince people who don't use open source software to use open? No, don't think that's the case either. But I think within the stuff that we develop, which is paid by taxpayers' money, we think if we get something from the community, it's good to give it back. And also, if we develop something as a community, the product actually might enhance from that. Well, and that basically is the bottom line behind Creative Commons to start with.
Thank you, because we have to be very quick. Thanks. Now, Philip, and then another one from the lady, and then we wrap.
Thank you. Well, in my case, it's not really a question. It's more of a statement, which is actually developing a little bit what Margareta already said a minute ago. What is the challenge and at the same time the big opportunity, in my view? Heritage is today accessed by about 5% of the population, if I'm not mistaken. We have seen figures of that magnitude. I turn this around. 95% of our population doesn't have access to heritage. Therefore, our challenge is to link up with these 95%. How can we do this? Now, technologies are one way of achieving that. A second component of the same line of idea is that we still think of heritage as something that sits somewhere in a building, within walls. in a shrine. I would almost say something that is dead. I've already said this at the last conference that was attended massively by museums. They were all jumping up and down because I dared saying that they're managing dead institutions. I maintain it. I'm intensely frustrated with heritage. For me, heritage is something alive. It's not something that is enshrined in a place. Now, how do we get these things that are in the vaults of our heritage institutions out from their vaults? Again, through the technologies. By showing that heritage can be all over the place. These technologies that you have just shown to us, there are many more, of course, are mainly there, in my view, first of all, to reach out to the 95%, and secondly, to reach out of the four walls of the so-called heritage institutions, and of making sure that more people get access to what's in there, and potentially even can pay for it. They're all indeed shedding tears all the time that they don't have money. I'm sure that in these 95%, well, here sits one who's willing to pay for stuff. I've been willing to pay for stuff for more than 20 years now. There is still no offer out there. So I'm sorry, stop complaining about having no money. Just go where the market is. I am your market, sell to me. Please, please, please.
Thank you very much, Philip, but that's why we are here. I mean, we are motivating and stimulating the market with the eCult value. Now, the last one, lady, please.
Thank you. My name is Katarina, and I work in the Museum of Contemporary History of Slovenia. I have 3 questions, but they're quite connected.
Make it short, please.
Of course. We are trying to reach out to the audiences. We are looking for different languages, different approaches. So I'm really thinking about becoming an eCult ambassador. I hope that's a good start. That's one of the questions. The other one is, can we test your loop in our museum? And the third one, yes, can you give me some suggestions, basically, where to start from? Because we are trying to get some technology in our museum. Thank you.
To whom are you referring the question?
All 3 of them, thank you.
Okay, Margareta, please.
Yes, I think it's a very good starting point to become an ambassador. And I think what we are in our project elaborating, which will be one of the results that hopefully are useful, is a kind of vademecum, a guidelines for museums or cultural heritage owners to think which technology is fitting for your collection. Because it's not one hat fits all. You really have to look what makes sense, what is feasible, and what is the purpose of it. Do you want to attract people? Do you want to have it for preservation, for digitization, for the archive? It depends very much on all these questions. And all these questions form part of a strategy. So we will try with the vademecum to help you in building up a strategy that you then slowly can step by step implement. And we hope that we can also teach you or coach you towards it with our e-ambassadors, follow-up webinars and things like that. So.
Thank you, Margareta. Maybe just from Mark and Juliane, just one last sentence, short sentence, the message of today morning, the last one. Please, Juliane.
Okay.
For future ambassadors.
So I think that the most important thing is how you explain it to the people who are coming to you. So how you present it, how you explain it. If you have a person who could explain it, then you win. If you have a person who is by itself not interested in, and it's getting personal, then it's like, no, I don't want to see it. That's one point.
Thank you, Juliane.
By all the technology.
What can
short.
Get involved. I think that's get involved and be critical about what we do here and what we're. I mean, we're telling stuff from our perspective, but actually we want to hear and organize our own critique if possible. So, and regarding I think you wanted to use the loop. Is that a? Well, that's a bit of a predictional question that I think, should discuss after this.
Exactly. So, thank you, Margareta. Thank you, Juliane. Thank you, Mark.